guys, so today I wanted to share something really personal to me. In fact, this video was inspired by another entrepreneur and my clients actually, who keep asking me sort of what my upbringing was. I think that when people look at me, they seem to have this impression that I was, that I kind of had a silver spoon in my mouth and everything was all perfect whilst I was growing up, and I had really great, money stories and really great examples. And as much as my parents were wonderful examples, and they still are, thank God, I actually grew up with a lot of money blocks, a lot of things that I would say definitely held me back from making money much sooner. So in this video, I just want to talk about a few of those things. I want to know if you recognize some of these things in your own life, and then at the end of this, stick with me because I'm going to give you some strategies to help you to overcome, smash through and break down some of these money blocks in your own life. So let's get started. Oh, and of course, if any of this resonates with you and it is your first time on my channel, and I really think you're going to get a ton of value from this, show me that you're loving it by giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to this channel, and of course turning on your bell. I would appreciate it very much. So let me take a seat here and let's dive in. So let's talk about why you start a business. I don't know about you, but I started a business. I started my business because I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to be able to spend time with my kids, spend time with my husband, and just not have to take permission, from anybody to be able to go on holiday or anything like that. I wanted freedom essentially, but I have to tell you that one of the biggest realities that a lot of people don't realize when they start their business is that freedom comes at a cost. It comes much later. And one of the things that you have to overcome in order to achieve that freedom is, of course, to get rid of any money blocks. And I feel that if I had identified these money blocks much sooner, I would have gotten to where I am right now much sooner in my journey. So let me share some of the things that have really held me back on my journey, and then you can let me know if you resonate with them as well. And by the way, I started running my very first business when I was 17, right? So this was a while ago now. Okay, so all my life, I really felt like I had to work hard to deserve the money, right? I had to work hard to earn the money. I found myself really working on my business as if I had a 9-to-5, so I would wake up at 5 a.m. and finish work at a certain time and do it, as if I had a boss. And the truth of the matter is that the only reason I did that is because I had an employee mentality, right? You've got to search yourself. Do you have an employee mentality? Right, you've got to think about some of the thoughts that surround this. Now, when I look back on my own life, I'm thinking, what are some of the thoughts that surround this this way of thinking? And I remember it's growing up and hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to make money. Looking back to being in school and being forced to stay in school, and I'm a big advocate for education. I'm a big advocate for school, but all of these things force us to grow up a certain way and think about money a certain way. So I had to work hard. In my mind, I had to work hard to deserve the money. So even when money was coming in, sometimes, honestly, I didn't feel worthy because it was like, no, but I didn't put in my 8 hours. No, but I didn't really work so hard on this. It felt like when the work was hard, like if I did a launch and it was extremely hard, it was extremely tough, I'm talking sleepless nights, etc., I felt like I was justified for the money that came from it. And then when I did another launch and it wasn't so hard because perhaps I already had the assets, or perhaps at that point I had grown my community and I had people who knew me, who loved me, who trusted me, right? When it wasn't so hard, but then the money came, honestly, sometimes I did question myself, like, but hold on a minute, Pam, do you really deserve that? And this thought is extremely damaging. It's extremely damaging because there is no rule that says that you have to work a certain way to deserve the money. Instead, when you find money coming to you, when you find success coming to you, be grateful for it. Just say thank you for it. Be grateful, entertain it, welcome it with both of your arms. Welcome it with open arms, because what you focus on will appreciate. And so because I was constantly focusing on hard work, guess what? I worked even harder, right? And it felt like a never-ending cycle, and I just kept going and working harder and working harder and working harder until it came to a point where I found it really difficult to detach myself away from the work because I had trained myself a certain ways, which is very, very dangerous. And guess what? That hard work didn't make me any wealthier. Actually, it kept me prisoner to my own business, contrary to what I have now. So that leads me to the second thing that I want to talk about, and that is that oftentimes your money story, it comes from your environment. Sometimes it actually comes from music. I am so careful right now with the type of music that my kids listen to, the type of music that I listen to, the type of music that I'm playing around my children, or that my husband is playing around our children. I'm so careful. I'm like literally that fly on the wall that's listening to the lyrics, and if I hear one negative thing, boom, it's done, it is off. I'll give you a typical example. A couple of days ago, we were driving or coming back from shopping, Christmas shopping with the kids, and there was something my husband was playing, and it was amazing. I'm not going to say what the track was, but it was brilliant. It had a good tune. It was, it had a good vibe. It was one of those things that you could catch and you could learn the lyrics. And then I started singing the lyrics, and I heard my kids at the back of the car singing the lyrics, and in the lyrics of the song, it said, "Everyone is my enemy." And I was like, hold on a minute. Everyone is my enemy? Is this really what I want my children to grow up with? And I said, no. If we're going to sing this song, we've got to change the words to "everyone is my friend." And so what I did, it was very silly. I started to sing "Everyone is my friend," and I sang it so loud that I drowned everybody else out in the car. So they all instantly, their brain switched, and before they even knew it, instead of singing "Everyone is my enemy," they all started singing "Everyone is my friend." That's right, your environment has a huge impact on your money story, which then has a huge impact on the results that you have now or that you don't have. A lot of people think that it's all about their upbringing, and yes, it can be very easy to blame your parents, and yes, our parents are, a huge reason behind why we think the way we do. But you've got to understand that you are also responsible. The environment that you have grown up in and the environment that you have allowed yourself to be in right now, right, is very important. Another example of environment is, I was at a wedding recently, and the song came up, and the lyrics were, and I'm sure some of you might recognize this song, the lyrics of the song was, "The more money we come across, the more problems we see." And so I sang it the first time, and I was like, hold on a minute. More problems I see? No, thank you. Because that's a money story. And I'm not trying to train my brain to go back into thinking that the more money I have, the more problems I'm going to have. So I switched it up. As everybody else is singing, the more money we come across, the more problems we see, I started singing, the more success I see. Because I want that to be my money story. Now, where did that come from? Once upon a time, as I was, growing up in business and developing and really understanding business, I genuinely was scared of success. And so many people today are scared of success because in their mind, they think, oh my goodness, if I make more money, then I'll see more problems. I'll have to pay more taxes. I'll have a bigger team to manage. Oh my God, have a bigger team? That is a lot of headache. I have to pay for tools. I have to pay for software. I just have to be so responsible over so many people. And all they see, instead of seeing success, they actually see more money equals more problems. And so you've got to be so careful about the environment that you allow yourself to be in, because the more of these words you are saying, the more you believe them. And guess what? The more it becomes your reality. But here's the truth. More money doesn't have to equal more problems. In my view, or rather in my world, the way that I look at it now is more money equals more opportunities, equals more reason to be helpful to people, equals more blessings. We're blessed to be a blessing. So whenever I think about, oh my goodness, my business is going to be hitting a certain amount of money this year, huge amount of money this year, oh my God, and I'm having this mini panic attack, instead of being joyful, all I focus on is, okay, brilliant, that gives me the opportunity to give more. It gives me the opportunity to change more lives. It gives me the opportunity to adopt, children from around the world, fund their education, fund, things for families, surprise people. I want to surprise people with cars. I want to do so many things with that money. So You got to focus on the positives of having money instead of these negative money stories. But this was certainly one of my negative money stories. The other money story that I had, or rather the thing that really held me back, was control and scarcity. And this is something that I'm still working on today, but it's something that I'm actively working on because it's like a gremlin and it creeps up on me sometimes even without me realizing. So let me explain control and scarcity. I'm a control freak. Most people who run a business are control freaks. A lot of us, really struggle when something is out of our control. Now, because of that, I see it all the time where, somebody might post this, but in my community, I see the Facebook post flying across and, they might say, my VA couldn't do the work, and so I took control and I did it myself. And guess what? I actually prefer my own branding. Or guess what? I actually prefer my own piece of work. Or guess what? I actually prefer the way that I did it, right? Control. As humans, we all crave for control. We love anything that is in our control because when it's in your control, you feel like you feel more powerful. Right? You feel like you know where it's going, what's happening. You are in control. But the problem is that control brings scarcity, because when you are controlling something, then you are putting it within your comfort zone. And as I always say, everything good that's waiting for you is actually outside your comfort zone. And so what happens with control is that it gives birth to scarcity. You are actually really afraid of something. And so you feel like, because I'm so afraid of losing this team member, or I'm so afraid of losing money, I'm not going to invest. So I'm going to control my money, the little money that I have. I'm going to control it. But what you don't realize is that you're actually afraid, and it's giving birth to even greater problems, such as scarcity, such as lack, such as famine. And that's why a lot of people go through the feast and famine and feast and famine. And one day they have some money, the next day they don't, because we are not supposed to control money. You've got to understand it. One of the things that my mum taught me, which I always remember and I always lean on because it is so true. She said to me one day, I can't remember what the situation was, but she said to me one day, Pam, hold out your hand, and I did. And she said, open your hand, and I did. And she said, what happens when you close your hand? I said, well, nothing goes out. And she said, well, here's the truth. If you close your hand so that nothing goes out, guess what? That means that nothing comes in. So when we're trying to control something, I want you to envision that your hands are closed because you're trying to control it, right? But what's really happening is that you're not giving any room for anything to flow to you. You're not giving any room for abundance to flow to you. You're not giving any room for anything good to happen because you are a control freak. Now, that's not meant to be rude. That's just meant to be the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. I have been a control freak most of my life. Now I'm learning to just let go and let God, right? Let go and just let it happen. I want to be surprised by the wonderful things that are waiting for me. I want to be surprised by the wonderful things that are waiting for me. And another thing with letting go of control is that you let go of burnout. Because when you're so controlling, you burn out. Controlling means that, you want to do everything yourself. You want to write all the copy yourself, create all the social media posts yourself. My mentality with my business right now is to hire people. I would rather have 50% of my income, right? Just 50% or even 20%. I would rather have a small fraction of it and have my peace than have all the money and lose my hair because I was trying to have control and I didn't want to pay other people to support me. I don't want that. My peace is just so much more valuable than money. Do you see what I'm trying to say there? So let go of control. The next money story, now this again, oh my God, it's one that I'm sure most of you will resonate with, certainly something that I've struggled with. And that is that I didn't know my numbers for a long time. Now, let's talk about this very briefly. A lot of people bury their heads in the sand because it's like, I don't know my numbers. I'm so scared of numbers. They bury their head in the sand, and that was me for a long time. I remember for many years, my husband would say, Pam, you've got to log into your account. You've got to log in and see what is going out, what is coming in. I knew loads were coming in. And so I had that peace of mind because I knew that my business was growing. But the truth is, was it really growing? Was it really, really growing? Am I really tracking the growth? Am I really tracking my income, my expenses? Am I really I wasn't doing all of those things. I do that now. right? But back then I wasn't doing those things. And that's because in my head, it was like, I'm too afraid of numbers. And it was like, I said to myself, that's my husband's job, right? We all have our roles in our home. He does the numbers, I do, my own bit, he does his own bit, etc. I told myself these stories to justify a really, really negative character traits that I had that you probably have. You've got to know your numbers, because what you cannot measure, you cannot grow. This is where it changed for me. When I started to have bigger goals and I knew that I wanted them to grow, I knew that I needed to be able to measure those growth. So therefore, I needed to be able to see those growth and that growth happening. And I couldn't do that if I didn't know my numbers. So I couldn't be afraid of knowing my numbers. So literally, I made it a habit every day. Log into my bank account, log into Stripe, log into PayPal, understand what came in, who did it come in from, what went out, who did it go to, am I hitting my goals? I started to ask myself these very, very difficult questions that I was so afraid of knowing the answers to, and guess what happened? Because of that, my business went from feast and famine to just feast, and it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing, and now I'm in a completely different place and a whole different money story right now. Very positive place to be right now, and I'm enjoying the money. But that's as a direct result of truly knowing and understanding my numbers. Next money story that I want to talk about now, this is one that a lot of people know about for sure, and that is that rich people are bad. Oh my God. Like, rich people are bad. And I don't know about you, but I grew up, in a completely different country to the United Kingdom. And so I remember growing up before we moved over here and just looking at the concept of being rich. My thinking was so warped that I just didn't even think that, I could be rich. Personally, I didn't think that anybody who looked like me could be rich. So it gave birth to the thinking that being rich must be bad, because if we're not all rich, therefore it must be bad. And then I started to judge. This is what happens when you think a group of people are bad. What you're really doing is you start to judge them. You start to judge their decisions. Well, why does he need a private jet? Well, why does she need a yacht? Well, why do they need that additional car? Why do they have 2 cars on the drive? Guess what? It's none of your business. It's none of your business. One of the ways that I began to really turn that thinking around is to think that, hold on a minute, money gives me the power to solve other people's problems. That's the way to look at it. So it's not that rich people are bad. No, they just have the ability to help others more than poor people do. That's the difference. Now, whether or not they exercise, rich people exercise that ability, that's not for you to judge or for I to judge. Right? The way that I started to look at it is, hold on a minute, if I have more money, my goodness, how could I really change somebody's life? Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it's not whether or not rich people are bad. And by the grace of God, I can say that we are in that camp where somebody could look and say rich people, etc. Right? But what are you going to do with that wealth? That's really the question that I always ask myself. And here's the thing, you don't always know what people are doing with their money. So just because you see them wearing nice clothes, driving nice cars and doing all the nice things doesn't mean that they're not actually using that money to solve other people's problems, to truly help other people and in their lives to help to make it better. You don't know that. So oftentimes when you're looking at life through a very, very narrow lens, right? Very, very narrow lens, it's very easy to judge, to point the finger. But you've got to understand that if you ever want to create wealth, you've got to change that money story. Because if you believe that rich people are bad, guess what? You'll never be rich. Because do you believe that you're bad? Do you see what I'm trying to say? So I had to change my money story about rich people. So I've got 2 more for you. The next money story that really was just really, really unhelpful for my growth was that I tied my self-worth to my net worth. Yeah, I tied my self-worth to my net worth. Now, what does it mean? It means that when my business was doing really well, I felt amazing. When my business wasn't doing well, or when I didn't seem to have enough money, I felt really crap. I felt really low. My self-worth was instantly felt like it was being attacked, and I felt like I was unworthy, like I had done something wrong, all of these things. But you've got to understand that you have to separate money from who you are. Money comes when you are a confident person, when you understand who you are. Because the thing about money is that it's so fluid and it flows to people. It flows, it moves around, right? Money never stays in one spot. It moves around and it moves to those who are calling it, who have their arms open. So if you are constantly going through these emotional peaks and troughs where one minute you're high, the next minute you're down, you're upset, you're mad, and all of these things, guess what you're doing? You're actually attracting a lot of negative energy, and money cannot flow to you, because money is positive energy, because money is created for change, for positivity. So it cannot flow to you. So back when I really tied my self-worth to my net worth, I didn't make any money, clearly. Right? But when I changed things and I really just separated everything, and I said to myself, no, actually, hold on a minute. It doesn't matter how much money I have. I'm a confident woman. I'm a powerful woman. Money comes when I call. Money is within my reach. And I just started to change my thinking and change my words and my feelings about money, about my self-worth, and totally separated the two, worked on my personal development so that I had a really high vision of myself, so that I began to operate as that higher self. That was when money truly started to come. Last but not least, this is one that I have experienced recently. Yeah, these money stories, they seem to find their way to, kind of just worming their way into your life, and you have to just keep finding them, identify them, and uproot them. So this final one is that it is too late for me to benefit from compound interest, and I'll tell you what it is. So I'm at the point right now in my business where I'm so grateful. Things are going exceptionally well. I'm hitting goals that I could have only ever dreamed of. Now, it has given birth to me having other desires. I want to create other types of businesses. I want to, invest a little bit more. I want to invest in stocks and shares, and I want to benefit from compound interest. And so what has happened is, I don't know if you know how compound interest works, but compound interest works over time. You'll find that people who started to invest much sooner, much earlier in their life, benefit now because they started sooner. So I think it's a story about Bill Gates I heard about, who became a multimillionaire in his 50s. I don't want to be wrong. I hope it is Bill Gates. But in his 50s as a result of compound interest, because he started to invest way from his early 20s or something like that, right? So compound interest is what happens to your money over time, where money truly begins to work for you. That's in a nutshell what compound interest means. Now, when I heard that and when I discovered and learned a little bit about compound interest, reading books such as Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all of that, honestly, I felt a little bit sad, because I felt like I had lost out. My parents didn't teach me this. The school system didn't teach me this. And this is the problem. When you go into that mental hole, you start to find people to blame. And so instantly I started to go, why didn't my parents teach me this? Why didn't the school teach me this? Why didn't I learn this? But the truth of the matter is that it's never too late, right? That's what I started to learn. It's never too late. Now, the only way that it is late is if you, now knowing the information, don't do anything about it. So what did I do? I hired a coach. I bought courses about investing. I set aside some money to invest, and every single month I invest. I'm buying stocks, I'm buying shares, bonds, and all of these things, and I am constantly investing so that I can benefit from compound interest, and my children can benefit from compound interest. So essentially, when we have these negative money stories, it's actually a very, very selfish thought. You're thinking about yourself only. You're thinking about the things that you don't like. Instead, focus on gratitude. Focus on abundance instead of lack. Focus on the fact that, hey, as long as you're alive, you have time on your hands. Now, the difference is, are you going to do something about what you know today, or are you going to leave it for another 5 years? Now, there's a big difference in that, right? Are you going to watch this video and go, boom, these are some of my money stories that I recognize, I'm going to do something about it now? Or are you going to discard it, move on to watching other videos or other pieces of content, or getting busy and just leaving things until, I don't know, another couple of years, 5 years or so? I don't know, right? I don't know, but I'm hoping that you will take something out of this and truly use it to change your life. Now, one of the ways that I have then developed, after changing my money stories, it's helped me to plan my business very, very differently. As I mentioned earlier, I'm at a point right now where, my business is doing, thankfully, amazingly well. When we launch monthly, we do 6 figures per month whenever we launch, which is absolutely amazing. It's something that I could have never dreamed. I could have never written about. Now, what has helped me to achieve this is the way that I plan for the following year and for our launches, and I wouldn't have been able to create these plans had I not changed my money stories. So on that note, I want you to look at the link below this video where I'm inviting you to join me inside of my upcoming bootcamp, where for 3 to 4 hours we will spend some time together to undo some of these money stories and, of course, create your game plan, your money plan for 2022. So check out the link below this video and see if it is something that you want to be a part of for 2022. Make sure you check it out and join me in that bootcamp. And of course, before you go, make sure you check out this playlist where I talk all things money mindset. I look forward to seeing you in the bootcamp. Take care.